Minecraft is a peaceful game. Well, that's what the game makes you believe. Everything from creepy cave sounds, feeling like you're being stalked, creepy music discs, this game is unsettling. In today's video, I have some of the scariest Minecraft horror mods I could find, with each mod getting more scary until we reach the scariest one. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So this first mod isn't actually a singular mod, it's more of a mod pack. So we've got a bunch of scary mods put into one thing, so I hope that this is going to be quite terrifying. We begin this mod in a random island in the middle of nowhere. We have a cassette tape, which gives us, not really much because we can't actually play the cassette tape, but I'm assuming that if we end up finding a cassette tape player, we could see what resides inside it. But for now, we're going to need to go ahead and do the basic, grabbing materials. I would grab myself stone tools and then grab myself a boat and just move into a random direction. My goal was to find an area to make my base, so that is exactly what I was going to do. I did stumble across a graveyard which had graves in the graveyard. I know, very interesting. I just thought nothing of it. I just continued my journey, and this kept me just going and going until I found a random house. This house was unlike anything I have seen prior. It's shaped like it looks to be very old. As we enter this abandoned building, we find a villager. The villager's name is just 32. A very interesting name, and he talks to us saying that we shouldn't be here, and he says that he's going to succumb to this infection that he's got pretty soon. This would startle off most people, but I was very much trying to see exactly what he was trying to say. The villager then goes on to say that he once knew a person like us. The villager says that he would always stare into space with manic eyes. However, what he did is he lured something from the skies to this council. And this would cause some sort of mass infection to start infecting the people of the council and the people that he once knew. He then starts to, tweak out, and then we're led to leave this place as now, we had to run for our lives. Oh, what the Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. I frantically ran, got my boat, put it down, and sailed completely the opposite direction of this being. If I wasn't careful, this probably could have led to my demise. I then slept because I really had no food, and honestly I had no base set up. And with the amount of mobs that there is in nighttime in this mod, there was no chance of survival, so sleeping was the only way to counter this. We woke up at day 2, and at this point I wanted now to make a base. Only problem being, where the absolute am I gonna build the base? So I went on a little expedition. We went pretty much searching for anything at all, and this did lead me to stumble across a few different locations. The first being this random abandoned house that I found in the middle of nowhere. Inside the house there was a villager, and there was also an enchantment table. Pretty nice stuff, however, I didn't really have the resources to upgrade my gear. I also found Herobrine. Yes, that Herobrine. I just stared at Herobrine and he disappeared, so there wasn't really a confrontation here. But yeah, I found this quite strange because it happened literally as I was tabbed out of my game. I kept running until nighttime began, and even now, it was pretty clear I wasn't doing too well in terms of resources. I was pretty much just looking for a nice spot to settle in, as there was all these randomly generated structures. I found a house in the middle of nowhere that I said, hey, let's go ahead, place the bed down and call this home for the night. This little motel that we found was pretty nice. It had all the resources I need and it had a pretty comfy bed. We woke up and this was the beginning of day 3. I was really starting to worry that I would never find a good place to settle, but after finding a village that got me all the food I could ever ask for, I was a little bit more confident in, well, surviving. Just after the village, however, I stumbled across an abandoned, military base. The base seems to have been run down, something attacked it, and everyone inside it, well, let's just say aren't doing so well. This was quite concerning. I didn't know what this was and why it was here. I was also trying to look for a cassette tape player inside this base, but I couldn't find one, so I kept moving on. My journey led me toward a ocean in the middle of night where I had no hunger. Well, I had hunger, but I had no health because I was being attacked by 50 different things. There was these zombie things that were chasing me, and not only that, but I just cornered myself, which led me to, well, game over. I then spent the next day looking for where I died. So, as you can imagine, me dying in the middle of nowhere did make my life a little bit difficult. The good news is that in this mod, if you die, it's placed in a marker so you don't get lost. So I eventually found my loot and we were back to where we left off. The next step was to build a base. So I found a nice little mountain which I dug into, and this was, I guess, my little safe spot for the night. I cooked some food, made sure that I was doing well in terms of surviving, and now I think there was only one option, and that was to start mining. So I dug down all the way down, probably to around diamond level, and I eventually bumped into a little mine, which was quite convenient. There was a lot of iron, but as well as iron, there was a lot of spiders. These little shits made my life annoying because they gave me poison, which just sucks in general. I then ran into a mine shaft. So I went like, yep, let's find some diamonds. Let's go. So looking around, there wasn't really much, and all I really found was dead ends, to be honest. This mine shaft was just not looking good, and I just kept running and running. Eventually, I gave up. I'm like, there's no diamonds, I'm gonna go back to the surface. But as I chose to go back, something appeared in front of me, and it was not fun. Oh my god. Cave dweller. That came out of nowhere. No. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm so dead. Goodbye life. As if it was planned, the cave dweller ran up on me in the middle of the cave when I found a dead end. And I'll say this, I barely survived this encounter. This was possibly the most terrifying experience in the mod so far because I was genuinely not expecting this. After this, I ran straight back up to the surface in record time actually, because I was not getting another cave dweller down in this cave. I got up and it was nighttime, so I decided to stay in the base because after the cave dweller, I was not really looking forward to any more encounters. As the next day began, I thought, let's go make a farm. I went ahead and placed all my seeds down, and it was a pretty nice farm. It did grab me some wheat that I could use to make more bread. Yeah, this was a good little endeavor to go on. And yeah, pretty much by the end of the day, I'd completed a singular farm. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm not that good at Minecraft. A single farm literally took me over a day to do. I found some weird looking structures like this weird tree that I found pretty cool. But yeah, I made it back to my base after making the farm, and Herobrine decides to show up again. I looked at Herobrine for a little bit too long because he decided to attack me. Thankfully though, he wasn't smart enough to get inside my base, so at this point, things were going pretty well. Herobrine backed off and the night began. So again, in my base, this is where I would camp for the night. The first thing that happened in my base was I was looking outside and I found two eyes staring back at me. No idea what this even is, but it was literally just staring at me, so I stared back at it and it didn't make any advances toward me, so I brushed it off because it didn't really attack me. I then thought, hey, let me go up to this thing, but as I did, it just disappeared, so I'm assuming it's a bit shy around me. Now I thought, hey, let's go ahead and do some exploring because there was really nothing else to do. I found a weird structure that had a bunch of rotten potatoes, so I quickly just left it as it had nothing of use. I did a bit of traveling and I eventually ran into a weird tower. The tower had a bunch of restless spirits, which did pose a little bit of a threat. Luckily though, it was in a mob spawner which I broke, and I was then able to get to the top of the tower. There was a few nice items, including this iron pickaxe with efficiency 2. I collected this item and moved toward my next structure. I also found a random door knight, which was pretty interesting. It had a bunch of resistance. However, thankfully, all I had to do was keep some distance between me and the zombie, and I was eventually able to defeat it. And also the sun came up, which meant we were on our next day. I found another cool looking base, which had a massive skeleton. I wasn't looking to fight this entity as it looks, well, absolutely massive. So I went upstairs and I would just kind of corner myself as there was a bunch of poison spiders, which made my health go down extremely quickly. This was really concerning because I was honestly stuck. Like, anywhere I moved, either a poison spider would get me or my health would just drain tremendously. And eventually, well, let's just say that this little dungeon would be the end of me. I would then spawn in the middle of nowhere because, you know, me being the smart person that I am, didn't actually do a spawn point for my base. So I spent the next Minecraft day pretty much running toward where I had last left off. And just to make things even better, the second I got to the place where all my loot was, I also got another game over. So yeah, I was pretty much in a never-ending cycle of getting to the place and, well, meeting my end. So at this point, I decided to leave this mod and move on to the next one. The next mod is called The God, and it is, well, it's terrifying. So without further ado, let's get into this one. We begin this game in a spruce biome, but weirdly enough, some text pops up on our screen saying he's watching you. He knows everything you do. Behave yourself and he'll be nice to you. But maybe it's just a mistake. Maybe it's not God at all. No one knows. The God is angry and it's ready to stop you, but maybe there's someone who can help you. This is definitely something that I was not expecting, but essentially there's a entity called the God and it's watching us at every second of our playthrough. With that said and done, my goal now was to get as much loot as possible, because if this creature or entity is out there and perhaps dangerous, I need to get suited up. I spent my time pretty much grabbing resources, making my way to villages, and just getting as much food as possible. This was all pretty much just average early game activities until I made my way into the mines. This is where I grabbed some iron, began to grab more resources, and overall at this point my first day was spent essentially grabbing stuff. However, during my mining expedition, something random happened. Whoa, 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 what the f? This jump scare was the first of many to come, but for now, I was a little bit on edge, but I moved on, and this allowed me to make a little bit of a base. In the mine, I made some food, got all my iron tools, and began to mine even more materials. I did run into 3 creepers, but more importantly, I ran into something else. Whoa, 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 hey, hey, hey. No, none of that, none of that, none of that, none of that. Who the f is going, ha ha. The hell is that? Oh. Oh my god. My screen darkened, and it seemed that something was following me. This took me off guard. I wasn't too sure what was after me, but for some reason I heard a villager-like sound. I simply brushed it off because nothing seemed to have attacked me, and I finished day 1 pretty much mining some more materials and getting myself a solid start to the game. As I made my way back to the surface, I began to build my base. This was to be a little sanctuary where I could really assert my dominance over these entities. Finished my base, polishing off it, making it look somewhat nice. However, as I just finished the base, a creeper sneaked up behind me and blew a hole into it. This resulted in me having to rebuild it, but nonetheless, eventually this was to be completed. Then had myself a chest where I put down a bunch of my materials and asserted my base as the lion's den. I proceeded to build a second story to the base, but as I was completing the renovations, something was off. Whoa, 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 what the f, bro? Oh my god, why is the sound still happening? A weird sound could be heard. It got louder and louder, but I wasn't too sure what it was, which made it equally as terrifying. After this encounter, I would spend the rest of the day pretty much building my base. I grabbed some glass so I can go ahead and have a look out at the top of the base, but I realized, hey, you can't really see anything when there's trees blocking your view. So my next goal was to pretty much get rid of all these trees so that I could have a pretty nice view of any sort of entity that could be stalking me. I went to go sleep to, go to day so I can have better visibility, but as I slept, something strange happened. Bed went on fire, and the text could be seen saying, "I can't sleep. I feel bad for my actions." This was a little concerning because we now had to do the excavation of the trees at nighttime. I grabbed my axe and I went outside, and pretty much I spent the next good while just getting rid of trees. Randomly throughout the night, however, I got trapped. I'm coming for you. Whoa, what the oh my god, go away, you piece of shit. The god said it's coming for me, and it trapped me in a glass tube. It put mining fatigue so I couldn't escape. It was trying to toy with me. However, after 30 seconds, the mining fatigue would go away and I would be able to leave this tube. After this encounter, I would try and sleep again because I was quite terrified, but I couldn't. I had to just stay outside and mine trees. Eventually though, some sunlight could be seen, and finally day 2 would come to an end. I spent the next day pretty much trying to build myself a fence around the base. This was to first of all protect myself from any sort of entities, but I just wanted to feel safe, so this fence was pretty much needed for that to happen. The fence just went around the whole base, and I would then place torches to illuminate the area. At this point, my next stage was to pretty much grab some farms and do the basic Minecraft stuff. So I pretty much got some seeds, got some water, and made a quick little farm. I know it's not efficient, but it's good enough. However, again, randomly, I was just walking around and lightning would strike right at me. Whoa! Nope. Inside. Yup. This was literally attempted murder, and at this point, I ran inside, but I could still hear the sound that echoed from the lightning strike. This was terrifying, but I had to move on. After this, I would grab some food, make myself some more steak, and at this point, I would camp at the top of the base as nighttime approached. Strangely though, in the top of my base, I was just walking around, just relaxing, and a glass pane could be seen breaking. I didn't notice this when I was playing, but eventually though, it did kick in that, yeah, the glass pane is gone and I didn't do this. Something was making changes to my base without me wanting it, and I was getting quite frustrated. Whoever this was, I asked them to please stop. It seems that whatever's trying to hunt us is getting frustrated and is starting to become way more of a threat. I then spent the next night doing basically what I did last night, getting rid of all the trees in the area. I did this for the entire night until we could see daylight again. This night there was no such thing as entities, it was purely just Minecraft. And that would conclude day 3 and we would begin day 4. As day 4 began, my base was on fire. Literally, I just went outside and I could see my base burning up. Immediately, I got rid of the flame, but this entity is trying to destroy my beloved base. Day 5 would be spent pretty much collecting my crops, just doing all the basic stuff. I know it's not the most entertaining gameplay in the world, but mainly right now I was very on edge if any sort of entity was stalking me. Because by now it was obvious that something was wrong. Today I had the idea to make a sheep farm, so I went ahead and made a little farm outlining where I would put all my sheep, and with some wheat that I got from my little seed farm, I would go ahead and find some sheep. I would take the sheep back toward the base, and now we would have ourselves infinite mutton. I meant wool, of course. So with that, the base was pretty much done. We had a farm, well, multiple farms, and I was pretty happy with myself. However, you know how it is, something eventually attacked me. Randomly, my screen blackened. This was very similar to what happened earlier in this playthrough where I would hear a villager. However, this time the villager actually spawned in, and this is a removed entity from a previous version of Minecraft. I'm not sure what it's called, but all I know is that it's from an older version and that it duplicates into other villages. This boss entity was quite difficult because the main entity was in the middle of the formation. There was 4 villagers protecting the middle one who pretty much was invisible and a pain pain in the ass to kill. This battle tested me because at this point I was living pretty easily. It was gruesome. I lost half my health bar, but nothing too crazy. Eventually I would defeat the villager. Nighttime began, and my goal for this night was to pretty much go ahead and keep track of the base. In the middle of the night I had an idea. What if I go ahead and get a dog? So I grabbed some bones which I had in my chest and I went ahead and looked for a dog. However, randomly, lightning would strike, and similar to before, I would be hit with mining fatigue. The glass tube could be found, however, the entity actually missed me. I guess the entity has bad aim because it clearly missed me. This day was like any other. I went ahead and looked for a dog, which declined both my bones, which made me a little bit angry, but I moved on. I then began to make a little strip mine because I wanted to grab some more diamonds. However, soon something happened. No. Please. What the What do you mean there's no more redemption? It sounded like the Minecraft song that we all know and love, but a lot more distorted. This was the first time I heard something like it, so I ran to the lookout, which I guess at this point was my safe place. However, up here, the music got louder and louder. This made me terrified because I had no idea what was going on. The music became louder and you couldn't even hear anything but the music. Me, being the absolute lion that I am, said some words that perhaps made the entity even more mad, because on my screen read the following line: "God is coming," and there was a 60-second timer. I said bye to the base because whatever God was, it was after me, and I could just pretty much sit there because I couldn't mine, I couldn't even open anything. I was stuck in the confines of the base where I felt safe. This safeness wouldn't last long because as the timer hit 0, it happened. Whoa, what the what the my game, oh my god, what the what the whoa, what the what the My game completely destroyed itself. The entity consumed me. This was just terrifying. No words to describe it but that. The entity put us in a new dimension, and it just told us to sacrifice ourselves. So all I could do was stare at the lava, unsure if I should jump in it. But the entity said too long. As to not trying to piss it off anymore, I jumped into the lava, and this would eventually be the end of me. This next mod is called The Broken Script. I'm sure you have all heard of this mod as it has made waves around the Minecraft community, and this was around a month ago when I played it, so my memory may be a little bit foggy, but I'm gonna do my best to retrieve what happened during this playthrough. So let's get into it. Me and my friend began a world, and this was the world that was found inside the files of the mod. This world opens up and it's unlike any other world I've ever seen. It appears we have spawned inside a chunk, and not only this, but there's a massive hole inside this chunk going all the way down toward the bedrock. You can find a sign exactly where you spawn, and it seems that the text is backwards. We'll get into this a little bit later because we didn't actually notice this till a lot later in the playthrough. The first goal was to pretty much get some tools and start to explore this world. Our first stop was this wooden base, and it seems to have some very deep secrets inside of it. The base itself is quite empty, there's not too much to explore beside pretty much this room with a bed. So we moved on to the top floor, which housed a chest. Inside of this chest was something that was very peculiar. There was 4 obsidian blocks with these protected void blocks, and in the middle was a notebook. The book has 20 pages of what seems to be lore about the world, and essentially what it's alluding to is that a structure was made. When this structure was made, some weird sounds could be heard, and every mob despawns if it comes too close to it. Pretty much the world begins to manifest itself and become just broken. The book does go into more depth, and this isn't really a lore video in particular, more of just what happened during our playthrough. After encountering this book, we found that there was some weird looking cobblestone. After breaking the stone, we found the structure that the book was talking about. The structure is identical to the structure in the chest, and you can see here This looks like something you would find in like a 2012 Minecraft creepypasta video. After this, we left the wooden base and we began to move toward the main base of the world. On our way, we stumbled across a little farm and a bridge. After crossing the bridge, we entered the base and it pretty much seems to be an average like old Minecraft base. You have the room that belongs to Die XD412. Interestingly, however, inside this room houses a chest and every item in the chest is null. Null is pretty much just another word for nothing. There's pretty much all the code here, it means nothing. We began to venture the base and we did find a like animal place where they had like some farms. There was also a pig with a name tag, which I found pretty cool. We then moved upstairs and we found some signs. The signs pretty much allude to a story. The signs say that there was someone in this world who isn't playing in it anymore. The clan grew suspicious of this player because, well, he wasn't in the world anymore, or he wasn't active. And this growing concern was a very prominent thing as people began to disappear within the world. Anyways, after this, we would move to the top floor, which housed a music disc. After placing the disc inside the jukebox, something weird happened.
Music disc.
Whoa!
Whoa.
Whoa. Never do that again.
What? Wait, hold on.
Oh, bro.
We'll keep it on.
It seems that the particles from the jukebox make the whole thing just distorted, and you can actually see visible blocks begin to form. This was quite concerning because, I mean, the world itself was breaking. We weren't too sure why, but it was breaking. We did stumble across a nether portal, which we ended up entering. The nether didn't really house too many things beside this weirdly strange walkway that led to nowhere. After this, we entered back into the overworld and began to explore other parts of the world. Our journey led us to just wander the land, and I actually stumbled across Herobrine. Now, this isn't actually part of the broken script. I'm actually not sure if it is, but I'm pretty sure this was another mod we installed with the broken script. But nonetheless, we did see Herobrine. So again, no idea if this is part of the broken script, but Herobrine was there. We did stumble into a cross, which was just sitting in the middle of nowhere. Again, no idea what this could mean, but there was something weird about this. And there was also a mob spawner, but there was no mobs inside the spawner, as if we remember from before, when the massive structure spawned, every single mob disappeared. We then ended up going into a little minecart, which led to a area where there was really nothing, so I assume this is the boundaries of the world, or the base for that matter. The next thing we found was a sign. The sign read, "I'm watching you." Who knows who this thing could be, but there is definitely something going on with this world if it wasn't obvious by now. And again, there was a bridge leading to, well, more of just nothing. The next 10 minutes was pretty much us just exploring the world, seeing absolutely everything it had to offer, and at this point there wasn't really anything happening until, well, this. Open gel air. Oh my god.
That's a Minecraft thing.
Is it? Oh, here I am. Wait, what's that sound? Bro.
You hear it?
Yeah. It's in the building.
In the building. This house is...
Text would appear saying 1282 invalid operation, which then led to the final text saying here I am. And then there was some sounds, some very ominous sounds in the distance. Not sure what this could mean, but we brushed it off because nothing came of it, and this led us toward the mine. This mine is pretty much in the center of the world, and if you go down it, there's a little, like, I'd say strip mine that leads to a bunch of signs. The signs are all backwards, and they actually read something very, disturbing.
Wait, it's reversed.
Because of one... Our... bodies are
not trapped.
No. It's
torn apart.
By what? My eyes are gone. The message is essentially something or someone has gone ahead and has gone haywire, and has led to a bunch of people, well, succumbing to a gruesome fate. After reading this, I tried climbing up the mine again, but this led me to, well, run off the edge and look, you know what? Let's just skip this part. We ended up back in the spawn location because there was something we wanted to try out. We tried recreating the structure in the wooden base, and this led to pretty much nothing. These blocks didn't really do anything, and it seems that this was a waste of time. So we ended up breaking the centerpiece, and after doing this, it turned into...
You break it.
Bro. This netherite cross had basically some weird, like, I'm guessing Morse code on it. It was like 000 something something. I'm not really too sure what it even means, but this was quite strange to be honest. And we ended up going back to the center base to see if there was anything else we had missed. This would lead us to run around the base for just minutes on end with no goal in sight. We just wanted something else to happen because from before, with all the text happening on the screen, the weird cross-like thing spawning, we really thought that there was more, but at the moment nothing was happening. The only thing of notice was in the main base in the middle of the map, there was a redstone torch that spawned randomly inside the base. We ended up going back into the mines, and this time around we went a little bit deeper than we did before. Strangely though, as we went down and we found a really tight hole inside the cave. This hole stretches like 30 blocks. And it literally has nothing inside of it. It's just strange that a hole like this, a strip mine, is just randomly placed in this cave. And we ended up going into another cave, which was in the world. As I went down, it already startled me because some sound effects started to play as I moved down.
This looks different.
Whoa!
What?
It's the music. It just went really loud.
Oh.
Again, I'm not too sure if this was related to the broken script mod or another one that I had installed, but as I moved further down and I ended up in this little water just area, and in this little tight spot, I was watching my friend stream who was streaming his like POV of his gameplay. There was, I kid you not, something unrecognizable in one of these caves. I'll get the picture up of what the entity is because my mate wasn't recording unfortunately, but it was sitting in a random cave just outside of where we were, right there. And as I got closer toward the entity, like not even 5 blocks away, my screen crashed out. Dude, go. Are you recording?
What? No.
Did you see that, yeah? Whoa. What?
What the
This was very strange to say the least. After this, we stopped playing the world because this was probably the point where it's like, yep, there's some really deep, dark, demonic shit happening here. Let's just leave it for another time. The broken script mod is something that is insane. There is so many things that can happen in your world. What we got is, I would say, the brink of what can happen. And if you've seen or if you know anything about the broken script, there is some really crazy shit that can happen to your game. But for the sake of this video not going too long, let's move into another mod. So day one, my idea was, let's survive. I wasn't too sure what this mod entailed and what I could potentially be seeing. My only thought was let's go get some materials and try find some shelter. Pretty good game plan, I know, I'm quite a genius, but looking around I found a cave and I went to go explore it. Here I was looking to grab some coal, some cobblestone, just stuff like that. And as I was looking around for some, materials, I stumbled upon something I would not want to ever see again. What is that? No, I'm out. After seeing this massive centipede, it seemed, I ran out of the cave. I think I mentioned this before, but I really hate spiders and just any sort of creature with multiple legs. I can't deal with them. I don't know if it's technically arachnophobia, but it's something of the sort. And I also live in Australia where there's plenty of insects to make you never want to see them again. Like you could be looking at your shoe and inside your Air Force could be a massive huntsman waiting to bite your foot. I'm sorry if I just traumatized half you people out there. It's only an Australian thing, don't worry. Anyways, I ran as fast as I could out of this cave. And let's just say I was followed by the centipede. This centipede would not let me go, so I had to just run, and I had to literally move 200 blocks away from the creature. Safe to say, eventually I would escape it, and at this point I would settle down and put my crafting table and my furnace down. At this point, I settled down a little bit. I was looking around for some food because I was really running low on hunger. And eventually nighttime would fall. And at this point, everything seemed to be normal. I wasn't really bumping into too many entities. And for once, I was relaxed. And this relaxation would not last long. I eventually stumbled into a massive mosquito. These things are just really annoying in real life, and in this game, they don't actually do much. However, as I ran toward it, it did sting me and poison me, so that was fun. And beside that, that was it. There was no other encounters for this night. This would end the first day and we would move into day 2. I moved into a cave and I went to go explore it. For some reason, I just always stumble across caves. It's just natural habit. I did find a glow squid, which was pretty cool. But beside that, this cave had a bunch of iron, which I would then smelt to grab some more items. I would collect armor and just pretty much do the basic Minecraft stuff. Now I felt a little bit more comfortable when encountering any sort of entities. The most this cave had was pretty much some tiny spiders, which are terrifying, don't get me wrong. These things are just really terrifying, but I mean they weren't too much of a threat because one hit and they pretty much perished. I then collected more iron and completed all my set, which gave me enough confidence to go back to the surface and, well, try and build a base. I also found a diamond in the cave, so I guess now we have a singular diamond to add to the collection. As I got back to the surface, I ran around until basically the sun came back up. This concluded day 2, which was pretty much me just mining. As the next day began, I stumbled into a massive creature. It was similar to the one I faced previously, but this time a lot more larger. I guess I was tested because this time I had no hesitation. I grabbed my iron sword and I slayed the creature. Although I was a little bit squealish because again, I just can't stand these things. But I did slay it, and at this point, I was pretty much confident enough to start to kind of take back at these creatures that were tormenting me for the beginning of the playthrough. I also found some flying beetle, and after just defeating it, it dropped a scarab. The scarab says that if we combine it with a scarab seal, we can actually get a protective ally. With this noted, I kept the scarab in my inventory in case I found the other item needed to combine them. After this, I began to build my base because it was time that I settled down. So grabbing some oak, I would make a little base, and what do you guys reckon? I think it's pretty cute. After completing a makeshift base, I would then go ahead and get back into the mines. I wanted to grab a little bit more materials and just overall make sure that I had everything I would need to progress in the game. This would lead me to find more diamonds, which is pretty helpful, but more importantly, I went ahead and grabbed some obsidian because I wanted to visit the nether. After grabbing all this obsidian, I would then make it back toward the surface. I would then make my way toward the nether, where I would stumble across some weird life forms in the netherrack. Honestly, I can't really explain what these are, but kind of like grubs. These things grossed me out a little bit. They're just so weird looking. No offense, grubs, but you're just weird. There was a nether fortress which I did explore, but my main goal was at this point to find as many cool looking creatures as I could. And honestly, the nether didn't really have that. There was really these grubs, and beside that, there wasn't really anything else. So with finding no new entities, I would then leave the nether after grabbing of course some quartz to get my levels a little bit up. And as we returned to the overworld, it was now nighttime. And for the hunt to find more entities, I would leave the comfort of my base. This would then leave me on a massive journey where I would just travel in one direction. My goal was to find as many cool looking things as I could. The first thing of notice was these pink worm creatures. I had heard rumors that the jungle biomes offered a lot of new looking creatures. So that is where I ventured, and the first thing was again these pink worms. They dropped an item which honestly I'm not too sure what this is even for, but I mean I collected the item and moved on. I continued traveling and this led me to more and more biomes. All was well until eventually, as I was just running, I heard a massive lightning strike. This was quite strange as it wasn't raining and there wasn't any thunder currently in my game. This did freak me out a little bit. I brushed it off because nothing didn't really seem to come from this thunderstrike. However, that wasn't the case. What did I just see? Oh! Whoa! What the f is that? Ah! Ah! What the f? Ah! 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 No, no, no. No, no, no. No. A massive boss entity would spawn out of nowhere, pick me up, and then chuck me onto the ground. Safe to say, I was definitely screaming for my life. And the worst part is this was completely unexpected. I was not expecting this encounter at all. The entity did chip off nearly half my health, so I was already alert to the fact that some of these creatures were going to be very hard to defeat. Somehow the entity would just disappear, and this was the last time I would ever see this creature. I kept moving on, and this led me to a snow biome. I did find a village in this biome, which made me a little bit more comfortable. However, this newfound comfort became terror, as in the middle of the village lied a massive spider. And as I said before, I hate spiders, so seeing this thing was really alarming. Wait, I got him, get him! Yes, get him, get him up. However, I stood back because the spider had messed with an iron golem. And this iron golem was not playing around. It 1v1'd the spider. And the fight was very brutal. However, the iron golem did come out on top. After this fight, the sun began to rise, and this would conclude day 5, a pretty eventful one at that. I would then spend the next Minecraft day doing jack shit. At this point, I'm gonna be real with you guys, I was just looking for entities. Probably because I wanted something really big to pop out at me again, because for some reason, me screaming wasn't a good enough reason to get the f away from things. But I mean, can you really blame me? This is a horror video, so I wanted as much horror stuff as possible. So the next night would come, and this time around there was plenty of entities to go my way. The first thing of notice was this weird, strange looking thing that I found randomly in this biome. It was a weird block, and I'm not sure if this is part of Minecraft's newest patch. I have no idea, so don't roast me in the comments if it is. But yeah, there was really something strange about this, and even stranger as I walked on this, a weird looking, like, I don't even know what you want to call this, it started to attack me. I was not having this, so I grabbed out my iron sword and I would attack the creature. I was more confused than scared because it looked pretty weird to begin with, and eventually it would be defeated. I would continue my adventure and I would just run and run and run. I did find some spiders, which again, I do not like these at all. In fact, even after witnessing the same creature many times, it still made me scream. However, as daytime began, something weird attacked me. As I was running around, I found a massive scorpion. This scorpion wasn't like anything I had seen prior. This was an absolute monster. Okay, now I just sound like that guy from Deadly 60. This absolute monster was attacking me, and my only defense was using my iron sword. I had to really give myself some distance between the entity because every attack it did made my health bar go significantly down. However, I kept just jabbing at it, and this made the creature start to lose some health. It seemed like I was winning this battle, so I continued my pursuit. All in all, this took me nearly a few minutes to defeat, but eventually, well, I actually got rid of the scorpion creature. The scorpion creature did drop a venomous appendage, which can be used for crafting mangled scorpion flesh blocks. Again, no idea what the absolute f that means, but I mean, now we have something new for our disposal. After this encounter, I chose to continue my journey into a random direction. I wanted to find as many things as possible, so I just kept moving, and this led me to a vast ocean. The ocean had no sign of ending. It nearly took me half a Minecraft day to just find land. But as I was sailing, I found something in the water that resembled something I have never seen before. After this, I continued to move as far away from this thing as possible, because the very thought of being attacked by an underwater gigantic spider was enough to make me never want to look back ever again. We would see the sun set for another time, and finally, as the nighttime began, we found land. I was running until the sky went red, and this was very alarming. I've never seen this type of redness in the sky, so looking up, something wasn't right. How the f is it that big? What? Why is my screen red? Oh, go away. I'm running. Oh my god. No. So what do I do here? Like, there's nothing I can do. This thing is like, let's go. I got an iron sword and a dream. This is, yeah, I'm not even hitting, I can't even hit this thing. It's that big. We had met the Tormentor, the final boss of this mod. Safe to say this thing was gigantic. There was really no chance I could even fight it. Like, how was I actually meant to hit the thing when the legs themselves were moving every second? So I just looked up in defeat, and finally the Arachnophobia mod had taken me completely. And with that, those are all the horror mods for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, then on screen here is a video about FNAF games that get more scary. So check that out if you haven't already. But anyways, until next time, take it easy and goodbye.